I'll quickly ask my, sorry, Councillor, I'll quickly ask my client to just show you the face that he's here. So that makes life easy. And if there's anything that required, then we can call him in. Can you just say that you're present here?
Good morning, everyone.
And I'm just present.
I'm present here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so I think we're ready. We're ready to start. Good morning. Welcome to today's hearing. My name is Councillor Steve Donnelly. I shall be chairing the hearing. My colleague, Councillor Janu and Councillor Sutler and I will comprise today's subcommittee. Alison Luff is the legal advisor to the subcommittee this morning. Also present are Misha Jalil, who is clerk to the subcommittee and will be minuting the meeting, and Sandra Felix, second member of the Democratic Services team, is also present. In accordance with the procedure, I shall invite the licensing authority to present the application for review hearing and call any witnesses in respect of the permission to appear has been given, or answer any questions put to them. Invite the premises to make their representation and answer any questions, and then invite the parties to briefly sum up their respective cases. At the end of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and the committee clerk, will retire to consider its decision. That decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed in writing within 5 working days. I think pretty much everybody present is familiar with the procedures that we have. Just in terms of housekeeping, I ask if you're not actually intending to speak, if you could keep yourself muted in order to minimise background noise. That may well include me for once today, because my upstairs neighbours seem to be laying some flooring or something, which is excellent timing. So there may be extraneous noises off from my side. So if everybody could mute, except when they're actually speaking. So perhaps I've introduced people. Perhaps Mr. Panchal, just for the record, if you could introduce yourself and your client.
Chairman, yes, I'm Mr. Panchal, who's going to be representing my client for Pricecutter, 7 Boston Road. My client, Mr. Amarnath, is present with me. He's distancing, but he's here with me. When there's any questions to be asked to him, he will be present while I'll move away. In the meantime, I'll be answering all the questions and taking on, but he will be here to answer if required.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving swiftly on then, if I can ask Mr. Bob Deere from the Licensing Authority to present the application for a review in his name.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Yes, this is an application to review an off-licence named Pricecutter, 7 Boston Road. It's W7 3SJ. This premises has been licensed since September 2010. The licence was issued to Mr. Amir Nath. The designated premises supervisor on that licence is Vicky Nath. No applications have been received to transfer the premises licence or to vary it to specify a new designated premises supervisor since it was first granted. This review has come from basically the community safety team at Ely notified the licensing compliance and enforcement of complaints of increased street drinking and antisocial behaviour, which included public urination, verbal abuse of women and children from early morning to the evening. The area this premises is actually situated is now in the Elthorne ward, and it's now covered by a special priority area and has been since July of this year when the new policy was adopted. Complaints have been received from local residences, local businesses, and complaints made to the police team at Eltham Ward. There are currently, in fact, I put 8. There are actually 9 other off licences within a 250-metre radius of the clock tower at Hanwell. 7 are permitted to sell alcohol from 8 o'clock. One of these is allowed to open at 6 o'clock, whilst the others are permitted to open from 8 o'clock. You can see that these premises are allowed to open from 6:30 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And the sale of alcohol Monday to Sunday is 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Following those complaints, myself and Brian Gohari from Trading Standards at Ealing Council here visited the vicinity of Hanwell Clock Tower to investigate complaints, and found that this premises was open at 6 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, it's very important to attribute any, should we say, blame or evidence that we achieve to a certain premises. Quite clearly, working in the shop was a male known to me as Mr. Ram Khanna. He was alone in the shop, and he is in fact the brother-in-law of the premises licence holder. He could be seen tidying up and arranging newspapers and putting out rubbish from inside. I positioned myself across the road and a clear and unobstructed view of the inside of that premises, which is very small anyway. At 12 minutes past 6, I saw a white male walk up the road with a female she stopped at the bus stop, and the man entered the shop and started to speak to Mr. Khanna. And he started pointing behind him to the bottles of spirits that are directly behind him at the counter. I then saw Mr. Khanna pass something to the male, and in fact, it was a small bottle come out from behind the counter, and he's then seen to put his left hand behind the silver blind that is covering the alcohol fridge, and remove a can of Perla Green, which is the ABV of 6%, which he handed to the white male, who then placed the can inside his jacket pocket. Mr. Khanna then returned to behind the counter, and the male walked off, met the female, and they walked off past the fish and chip shop down Boston Road. At 24 minutes past 6, a white male with a bag strapped over his shoulder entered the shop and spoke to Mr. Khanna. The male put out his right hand to Mr. Khanna, who took something and then came from behind the counter and took 2 cans of beer from behind the silver blind, gave them to the other male, who unzipped his bag and placed them inside. He then left the shop and walked towards the clock tower. At 6:35 a.m., a person wearing a black and grey tracksuit top and grey tracksuit bottoms entered the shop, and it's obviously known to Mr. Khanna. And after a brief conversation at the counter, the person is then seen to remove the silver blind, with their right hand, look inside, then remove a can of Zubra, which they then placed down the front of their tracksuit bottoms and walked off towards the clock tower. Obviously, from there can be seen approaching people and being handed coins. 6:44, a white male entered the shop, seen to hand Mr. Khanna something over the counter and go to the fridge, move the silver blind and remove a bottle of Budweiser beer. He then left the shop and walked towards the clock tower. At 11 minutes past 7, the person from who entered the shop at 6:35 also returned to outside the shop, engaged a white male in a conversation at the bus stop. When the bus arrived, they fist pump, and the white male takes coins from his trouser pocket and hands them to the person who enters the shop. And it's seen to hand something to Mr. Khanna, go to the fridge, another can of Zubra, this time which they didn't attempt to conceal, but they walked off towards the clock tower with the can in their left hand. Myself and Officer Gohari entered the shop, and after producing identification to Mr. Khanna, we pointed out what we'd seen. I took 2 photographs of the beer fridge with the silver blind that was still down, and you can quite clearly see that it's not the strongest of blinds. It's obviously pulled away quite regularly because it's actually shaped like that, so you can get your hand behind it. I requested CCTV, but Mr. Khanna made no response at all. So I left my contact details. The premises holder was asked to contact myself. Later that day, a phone call was received from Mr. Amenaf, the premises licence holder, who explained that he'd sold the business. And when asked who to, he stated it was a family thing. A telephone call was later received from the sister of Mr. Naff, who was then requested for CCTV footage between 6 a.m. and 7:30, and stated that the roof had been leaking and works had just been completed. He was unsure whether the system had been recording for an unspecified period. Obviously, this premises has come to notice before of this committee as well, and in 15th of March of last year, so not even a year and a half yet, this premises was reviewed the first time, and the evidence of that was on 2 visits. Training standards and licensing officers visit the premises. A large amount of duty-free cigarettes was seized, hidden in various places around the premises. And also a bottle of whiskey was found on the shelf that the duty diverted, and also 2 bottles of wine were found in a blue bag behind the counter. And in total, in that visits, 960 cigarettes, 250 grams of roll-your-own tobacco, 2 bottles of red wine, and a bottle of whiskey were seized. And the unpaid duty at that time was amounted to £500. On our visit on the 15th of September, the premises were inspected. No duty-free cigarettes or anything else was found. But of course, Mr. Naff and the DPS should have told their employees that his brother-in-law that no beer, no alcohol can be sold before 9 o'clock. Mr. Kana is well aware of that. And on the last occasion, the committee decided to give the premises licence holder a second chance and suspended that licence. They also decided to amend the condition on that licence that you had to have 3 persons from 7 o'clock on that licence, down to 2. Well, when I served the papers on the 29th of September, Mr. Kana was on his own again, and basically is every time I go past the shop, visit the shop, Mr. Kana is the only employee in that shop. So I'd say that the premises licence holder is failing to promote any of the licence objectives, but in particular the prevention of crime disorder and the public nuisance that's been caused around that area. And due to this instance, in total disregard, I would ask that the ultimate sanction open to the committee be set, and this licence be revoked. And that is my evidence, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deere. An update on my situation. It's literally drilling on the floor of the flat upstairs now. So if you hear alarming noises, I apologise. That's what it is. I also understand my own sound isn't particularly great, so we'll try and persevere. If need be, I could disconnect and try to dial in again, but let's persevere. So first of all, questions to Mr. Deere from the premises. Mr. Panchal.
Yes, Chairman. Sorry, I'm online. I got a few questions to Mr. Deere. First, I'll ask that when we had when he mentioned about the hearing in 2018, 2019, so visits, you agree that there were no breaches at this time when you visited the premises?
Mr. Kana was on his own, but no other breaches.
Yeah, but so in other words, they have obeyed, and the breaches have not occurred since the last time we came to the hearing. That's number one. Number two, I'm a little bit concerned here on your visit on page 23 of your bundle. your first visit on 6 at 6:12, you say that you removed from the blind, from the fridge, a can of Perla Green. Did you see the can of?
That's correct.
So you said you were positioned yourself across the road
Yes.
in your second paragraph, and then at 6:12 you saw somebody remove a can of Perla Green. Did you see the can of Perla Green?
Yes. Yes. It's quite distinctive because it's green, green and white, in fact.
No, I'm just trying to clarify that whatever he gave, did you be able to look at it and say, yes, that is Perla Green? You're confident?
100%. Yes, 100%.
100%. No, I believe you because I've been working with you for such a long time. I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, so I've had a chat with Mr. Nath, and I'm not disputing anything. I just wanted to clarify to make sure that you were so far away from the shop and you could clearly see that was Perla Green, and you could see whatever the stuff Budweiser and were taken away. Do you think because of in the past, in 2018-19, when we suspended the license for 1 month, I know I was at the hearing and both of us agreed that a second chance be given to the client. Do you think if there is a change of DPS at this premises now and a short suspension of 2 weeks to change the DPS would again bring the premises back to a non-breachable condition? Because I'll put some words in my presentation, but do you think that would be a viable procedure at this very moment?
I don't personally, obviously, because Mr. Nath has already told me that he sold the business to a family member, and be honest, that was the same last time. Mr. Nath has got no involvement in the business whatsoever, apart from his name is on the business. The designated premises supervisor, well, I've never met. No, I think the only sanction open to the committee is revocation, because they've had their first and final warning. They had their reprieve at the last review hearing when it was suspended for 1 month. And this time, 5 breaches of selling alcohol way before the hour in such a area prevalent to street drinking. And I was told by the sister who says that they've taken over, or last time they said they've taken over, that they checked the CCTV, and that was it. I've never heard anything since. Not even to say, sorry, Bob, it wasn't working. It's just nothing until this day. You know, I appreciate why I've got no CCTV, because that'd be the icing on the cake, shall we say. That, you know, just to basically, let's ignore it. Let's not return the phone call, and leave it there.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. So questions from the panel. Councillor Jamie?
I don't have any questions at the moment. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Tom?
Chair, you probably already read this anyway, but Mr. Deere, there's a statement from you 29th of the 9th, 2020, saying that telephone call was later received from the sister, Mr. Nath. So presumably somebody did come back to you.
Yes, she did come back. That's how I know that they said that they had work done on the roof that had been leaking. It wasn't explained how long that had been leaking, how long the CCTV had been working. But I explained that I wanted the CCTV, and then she said that she was going to check the CCTV and get back to me.
Oh, she didn't get back to you?
No, she didn't get back to me.
No.
Thank you. Chair, just while there's an opportunity, Mr. Panchala, you do all the training for this place?
well,
Mr. Panchal, are you dealing with training?
Yes, I am. Sorry, Chairman. Yes.
You do deal with the training?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Just thought we'd better have that noted, Chair. Thank you. No more questions.
thank you. I have no questions for Mr. Deere, on which basis we can proceed to invite the Premier to present their case. Mr. Panchal.
Yes, Chairman. I'm going to be brief. I've spoken to Bob Deere, and I do work along with Bob Deere on many premises, and you'll be seeing me here quite a lot. Chairman, one thing that I want to bring to your notice that it is a family-run business. Yes, we do hear from the family saying we've sold it or passed it on to the family, but this is a family business, bought in 2004, 2006. The only breach that carried out was when bought in 2018-19, which I was present at the hearing here, which we have just discussed with Bob, that there were no further breaches from the incident that happened in 2018-19. So we could see that there is a lot of improvement at the premises during that breaches and afterwards. Well, we carried out a few training sessions in 2018-19 during that hearing. Mr. Amarnath, who is the present license holder, is the brother-in-law of Mr. Ram Khanna. Ram Khanna's wife, Monica, is Amarnath's sister. So the business was passed on during the period of from 2004 to up to now. During that in-between period, they managed to acquire another business, which is for double glazing, which Mr. Amarnath has shifted there. Although he does pay attention to this business, you could have 2-3 businesses in your life when you tend to get successful. And Mr. Amarnath did speak to Mr. Khanna about the conditions of the license during the last time when we had the hearing. And so Mr. Amarnath at this moment does feel that whatever Mr. Ram Khanna has created or selling the alcohol at 6 o'clock, which is an unlicensable activity carried out, and was very concerned. So he has booked with us at the training session for Mr. Ram Khanna and Monica Khanna, who are now presently running the premises, to undergo training. We have a booking tomorrow for Ms. Monica Khanna, who's going to be sitting for the course for APLH level 2 and looking into the trainings. We have also considered in 2018-19, which is already there, a training manual, all the 4 licensing objectives, trained on that. But we are going through another training session which starts tomorrow, and we're going to make sure. We also propose to this committee at the present moment to say that yes, we will change Mr. Amarnath's business in the other business. We will change the DPS, and we are expecting Mrs. Monica to take over as the new DPS and the license holder of the premises, putting more responsibility and making sure that the breaches don't occur. So, Chairman, we feel that at this very instance, to get the trainings in place, get the DPS changed up, we are happy for those matters to be put into place, and the premises be suspended for we reckon 3 weeks. Suspension would bring everything into its normal circumstances, which it did happen in 2018-19. So we feel that would be the way forward. Mind you, Chairman, don't forget that this premises is situated right next to the Ealing, near the Ealing Hospital, and they have a privilege at this moment to feel proud that they have been serving our frontline warriors at NHS. They do the deliveries sometimes. They keep their goods ready for the NHS warriors. So they are doing quite a good work for that side of the premises. There is a from my point of view as a training, there is what I feel that It's very difficult at this very moment to work out who the street drinkers are and who is drinking and that. But I'm not going to go into detail about that because my client here has breached and is very sorry about what Mr. Ram Khanna has created by making an unlicensable activity, which is supplied alcohol, which again, my personal view is it's fantastic for Bob Deere to be able to see from down the road that if he was challenged to that there was a green tea. There could be a green can of maybe a soft drink, maybe anything. But I'm not going to dispute that. But I personally feel it is fantastic for Bob Deere to say that yes, that is Perla Green, yes, that's Budweiser, and that's the can, because there is no evidence proof with you. And I have a very high respect for Mr. Bob Deere. But in this case, I feel that
Mr. Panchal,
we haven't. Sorry.
literally, when Mr. Deere gave his evidence, you used the words "I believe you."
I believe you. That's what I'm saying.
Now you're saying you don't believe him.
No, I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm saying that I have worked with Mr. Bob Deere. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but we're looking at an evidence here, which we're saying. I'm not going to dispute that, Chairman. I'm not saying I'm disputing completely. I have a lot of faith in Bob Deere generally, but I'm just saying for you to have a look at that. So, Chairman, this is what the way forward at the moment that we feel. This is the way forward. If there is a short suspension of 3 weeks, and during that 3 weeks period, we would advise that our clients to change the DPS. We'll put the trainings in place now, and Mr. Amarnath is quite concerned of what has happened at the premises. So we're not lying here. We're not disputing that something that has happened, or my client is not disputing something that has happened that is challenging here and here. He is not. He's very sorry for what has happened, and he has immediately taken steps to make sure it does not happen again. If there's any questions, Chairman, I'm happy to take. My client is here, and he can take any.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to pass to Deere in a second, but I'm going to abuse the chair just briefly to try to establish, for my own benefit, some facts. It is stated in the papers, page 25, I think, that Mr. Amarnath phoned Deere and said he had sold the business. Now, so am I correct in understanding that Mr. Ram Khanna is the person to whom he sold the business?
I'll ask Mr. Amarnath here to answer your question, because that will be much easier.
Mr. Monica Khanna.
Well, I don't think it's a difficult question.
I know it is not, but
I'm worried that
Monica Khanna is the sister, so he's passed on the business to Monica Khanna, the sister, not Ram Khanna.
Okay. When did that happen?
Recently.
Quite recently, I'd say quite recently, a few months ago, I'd say about February time or so.
Okay, so I'm just trying to establish, we have a situation in which this is a business that you no longer own,
Yeah.
but for which you are still the premises license holder, and for which you, but it's now owned by someone, and he is not the she is not the premises license holder, nor is she the designated premises supervisor. So why are you continuing to take an interest
Because she's still
in this business?
She's still part of the family, so I did say to her I will help her until she gets her own thing done. But obviously after the lockdown, we kind of went a bit slower than expected.
So who is expected? is there an intention to transfer the license?
Yeah, 100%. That's what we want to do, is transfer the whole license over to her. And I think
you'll forgive me, but 100% isn't reflected in any action that you've taken in the 10 months since you say you've passed the business to her.
I think Monica Khanna has booked a course with yourself for tomorrow. She's coming in to do it.
Chair, can I ask a question,
Okay,
please, Chair?
I just want to try to restore the order. So I'm going to ask Mr. Deere first, and then I'll come to members afterwards, if that's all right, Councillor
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Deere.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose the first question is to ask the premises licence holder or Mr. Pancho. Mr. Khanna, I know he's the brother-in-law. Can it just be confirmed that he was there when I reviewed the premises the last time on his own?
Yeah. Sorry, what's that?
Last time when we reviewed the license, you were there with us, yeah?
No, Mr. Khanna. Mr. Khanna worked at that premises back in 2018, 2019.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And since, let's say 2016, because that's when I know my first involvements, because that's when I came to the borough. Mr. Khanna has always been there since that time, and you've done, in fact, I think you closed the shop for a little while, did you not, for some refurbishment?
Yeah.
Okay. What percentage of alcohol would you say is the business there? Because it's mainly a newspaper shop.
25% roughly.
25%. Yeah, I'd agree with you. Like the 25% is not a lot because it's a small fridge. Just on that fridge, sorry, you know, your premise line. I don't know if you've got a personal license,
Yes.
but what other drinks are in that fridge apart from beer? I know there's beer in there.
Beers, and we have a small section of beers, and then we've got soft drinks on the side as well.
Okay. And do you think that's a good idea, mixing beer with soft drinks, especially when children come in? I'm sure you have school children come in there and want to purchase a soft drink.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Thinking about it now, no, it's not a good idea.
No, because obviously, the reason I know about beer, should we say, and colours of cans is because they're all very distinctive.
Just grab a chair.
Yeah, no problems. You're comfortable now? That's it.
Yeah.
So your involvement is very minimal. I mean, your name is on the license, isn't it? Would you agree with that? Right, okay. And can you? I don't know if you can confirm.
Like
I spoke to your sister the last time when I reviewed the license. You're aware of that, aren't you?
Yeah.
So she's had an involvement in that premises since 2018, at least, when her husband was working there.
Yeah, she's had an involvement because there wasn't sold at that time, so they wanted to see the business and check it out before they buy it. Because we did actually put it for sale in 2017, but we didn't get buyers or anything like that. So then we kind of came to an arrangement with my sister, internal family arrangement, that why don't you check the business out, and if it's fine, then we'll sell it on. And that's how it kind of went on.
Yeah. Okay, Chair, I've got no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deere. Councillor Jammu.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to Mr. Amarnath. Obviously, you've just confirmed that for a number of years now that you passed the business on to your sister. Why was the council not informed of this, of the change of arrangements or change of ownership?
Because she hadn't exactly taken over fully yet, I was still helping her on a day-to-day basis. Well, no, I won't exactly say day, but every other day or something, I was still helping her do stuff because
This is quite a few years now. This is not like yesterday or last month or a few months. This is quite a few years now. This has been going on.
it's only been about a year.
You said yourself just a little while ago that you handed this over to your sister. Wasn't it 2017? You said, or
No, sorry,
did I mishear that?
business. We tried selling the business in 2017, but we couldn't sell it.
Yes.
So then during the course, obviously, we were trying to look for someone to take it, obviously, to run it. And then it's been about a year to a year and about 4 months or so that then we got into an agreement, something with my sister that she should take it over. She
So
said,
how long is that? How long has it been that you've had this agreement with your sister?
about a year.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions,
Any
Chair.
other questions? Thank you. Councillor Sumner?
I'm okay now, thank you.
Thank you. Just for clarity, my part, are these premises that are rented or are they owned by your client?
Are they what, sorry?
Are they rented or leased?
They're leased.
Sorry, the premises is leased.
Rented, leased, rented.
It's the same thing, rented.
Rented, okay. And in whose name does the lease sit currently?
Someone completely out of the family.
No, it's Amarnath holds the lease from the freeholder.
And does his sister pay him make any payments to him for the running of the business, given that he is the leaseholder?
She makes payment on behalf of Amarnath directly to the freeholder.
Okay, thank you. I know further. So on basis of this, I just invite. We've got no extra conditions. Well, Mr. Pandal has offered conditions, Mr. Deere, regarding a temporary suspension. I didn't hear you suggest that you accepted that proposal. Can I just be clear what your position is?
Yes, Chair. No, I don't think any conditions can satisfy me in this matter. There's one call to action, and it's a bit like Monopoly. I think we should miss going to jail and go straight to revocation. That's my opinion. No conditions would.
Thank you. So moving to the summing up, Ms. Bantal, would you sum up briefly on behalf of the premises?
Yes, Chairman. Thank you very much, Chairman, for allowing me to sum up the position. Yes, I've just heard Bob Deere saying, yes, we are going for revocation. Chairman, what my sum up at this moment would be that we did come to the hearing in 2018-19. There is a vast improvement in the premises at that particular time when we were in a suspension period and matters were taken care of. So there were no breaches to what had happened in 2018-19. Yes, again, the breaches today we are looking at is an unlicensable activity carried out in the morning to the customers, which shouldn't have taken care. But thereafter, immediately action has been taken, and we feel action will be taken. And in this day and age, where businesses are suffering from pandemic, this will be another disaster if this business was revoked. Another side of the story is that the business is serving our frontline warriors, and I'm not saying that because they're serving frontline warriors they should be given a chance, but I think there is a way forward for these premises at the moment, and there could be going a way forward for these premises, whereby if the DPS was changed, Mr. Ramkhanna was removed as a DPS, and a much more day-to-day running of a DPS was installed in, and the license holder was changed to Mrs. Monica. I think there is a lot of way forward for this business. And we feel that a month or 3 week suspension in doing those changes and getting the trainings in place would make this business go far forward than being revoked. If it was revoked, I'm sure the business would fold, because it's 25% of the business at the moment. So, Chairman, I propose and I feel the way forward for this business, which we have looked in the past and we will look again in this method, that way forward would be a 3 week suspension or a month suspension for the premises, and change of the license holder and the DPS would suffice at this very moment. So that's what we are requesting, and that's what we are saying to ourselves, that that's the way forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Deere.
Yes, Chair, very briefly. I thank Mr. Panchal for earlier saying that he didn't dispute my my eyesight anyway. I can take my reading glasses off now. This is a license that you've heard sells 25% of alcohol. Yes, I appreciate it's a business, and and after speaking to Monica and the family, they are a very nice family, but unfortunately, this is a very serious matter. The breaches, yeah, they're not the breach of the license, but they're very serious offences. This premises now falls within a special priority area that is evidence was used from the 3 years previously to prove that that area should become a new area because of the premises there, the way they were being run, and so I stick by my application. It says verification. I don't think there's any conditions, and the shop, you know, there's 75% of what else they sell can still be sold. Unfortunately, they've proved twice that they've fallen foul of the Licensing Act, and I don't think there's room for a third opportunity. So I say verification is the only step. Thank you.
So that concludes the proceedings. The panel will now retire to deliberate together with the legal advisor and the clerk. So I think we have a scheduled time currently to deliver the verdict. Is that 1 o'clock?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, that's right. So, and the reasons for the panel's decision will be explained in a written notice of decision that will be sent to all parties within 5 days. For the moment, thank you. If the panel who are meeting to deliberate, if we can reconvene on the other Zoom in 5 minutes, please. I shall see you then. Otherwise, good morning to everybody. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.